Having a big conversation with all of you today. We're talking money and finances was one of the greatest. And before I launch in, I just want you all to get settled and get comfortable. I hope you all have coffee in hand. Have your questions in hand, please. I want this to be an interactive session. Who's with me? I see the numbers going up and up. Say hello, if you will, and where you're joining me from. You guys can't be this quiet for the whole broadcast. I want to know where you're joining in. Hello, Terry Purcell. Davidge, thanks for joining. Hi, Heather Voss. Catherine, so nice to have you with us today. TJ, you're always there. Yo-yo from Spruce Grove. TJ, how was your workout this morning? Hello, Ann Dawson. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Diane Quartley. It's so nice to see your name up there from High Prairie, Alberta. Jessica, it's great to have you with us as well. And Dawson, hello, hello. Thanks for being with us. Make sure that TJ says her workout was freaking hard, but she did it. Mine was too. To our Facebook users now, I'm just going to mention this again. If you have not registered your name up at the top in the chat box, please do so. If you do not want your name up there and you want to remain anonymous, I totally understand. I get it. I will just read your comment as Facebook user, but I'd love to be able to use your name. Hi, Nancy Pataski, my mother-in-law, joining us today. It's always nice to have you and Dawn on the broadcast. Friends, make sure that you keep your questions coming throughout the broadcast. Kelley has just released a new book. It's called Talk Money to Me, and it's fabulous. And I'm going to give away a few copies. Candace Daniel, hello. You're spending your lunch break with me and with Kelley. That's so awesome. Thank you so much. Candace Tays, always nice to have you part of our broadcast. Susan Carter, hello from your home office, which still looks like your master bedroom. At least you've got a view of the garden. I hear you, right? Like Kim, I'm not sure how to say your last name. I'm going to say Tishrab or something. Joining us from North Saanich. Nice to have you with us as well. Isn't it funny how the home offices look a lot like master bedrooms these days? I mean, we can only do so much, right? I'm sharing an office with my husband, and it gets interesting at times. He jokes now because he's working from home that he is my technical assistant. And Kelley, when she joins us, we can have a few laughs. So there he is. Woo! We still have it. Danielle, you're having tomato soup and grilled cheese for lunch. Oh my gosh. That was one of my all-time favorite lunches when I was a kid. My mom used to make it for me all the time. Do you dip your grilled cheese into the tomato soup? I need to know, because that's the best part. And what kind of cheese do you use? Is it the real deal cheddar? Is it white cheddar? I want to know, because used to love that as a kid. Kim from North Saanich says, you have a 600 square foot apartment. My home office is my living room, dining room, and your kitchen. Well, all the power to you, Kim. We are all getting creative during these times because we need to with our money. And you're going to hear Kelley talk more about that. I actually wore this shirt in Kelley's honor. I'm going to stand up and show it to you. And the reason I wore it, she won't recognize it, but Kelley and I have a rich and long, long history. She's going to hate me for saying this, but the truth is I think we go back some 20 or 25 years. It was that's the first time I ever interviewed Kelley on CTV News. And there are some pieces of clothing that I keep because I know they're going to come back in style. Like I wore this snake print shirt on my last broadcast, and so many people said to me, "Oh my gosh, where'd you get that shirt?" And that shirt was from the archives of Carrie doll, because there are some things I'm like, I'm not giving this one up. This one is a good one to keep. So this shirt, I swear I had this shirt back when I interviewed Kelley. So I'm being ultra frugal in that regard. And Kelley's going to appreciate that because she always tells us to watch our money. But I wore it in her honor, thinking, geez, it's been some 20 years ago since she first walked on the set of CTV News. And I'll say this, she blew my doors off. She's so plugged in. And she's so knowledgeable about so many things. But more than that, you're going to discover about her is she's going to seem like one of your best girlfriends that you want to either have coffee or drink whiskey with or wine, because she's just that real. She gets it, what's happening in the world, and she can talk finances in a way that is so relatable for all of us. And I did a podcast with her about, I'm going to go back about 6 months. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that podcast, you really should, because Kelley has a fabulous personal story as well. We're not going to get into that today, but we are going to talk finances, but do show her some support on her podcast because she's a powerhouse in that regard. As I mentioned, we're giving away a couple of her books. She so generously donated them today. And a few other housekeeping notes before I introduce her is that coming up on Friday, we're having happy hour with our local chef, Paul Schufeld from Workshop Eatery. And this is part of, I want to show my support for Edmonton restaurants who are pivoting in all sorts of ways and doing their best to survive during these trying times. So I thought once a week, let's bring on a different chef. Let's feature what they're up to, how they're doing it, and then they can teach us a recipe or two and a really awesome drink or 10 maybe. And because, I'm also, speaking of drinking, I was showing Kelley this earlier, that my mug, this is from my mother-in-law. I love her to tears. She gave this to me. She says, day drinking is the best drinking. Not that I'm day drinking right now, but if I am on holidays, I am a day drinker before I'm a night drinker because I don't stay up very late. Anyway, I digress. So, something else I want to talk about with the restaurants is it's Paul Schufeld this week, and we have a few others that are lined up. They're so excited. They were blown away by the support. So if you can join us 4:00 on Friday, and honestly, let's see how many people we can get involved in this virtual happy hour. Because don't we all miss happy hour with our friends? And it's so, I miss the buzz of a restaurant, being able to just see people, be around people. So let's create it. Let's create it the only way we can virtually and make it happen. And Kim weighed into and said that the Workshop Eatery makes the best homemade potato chips. Really? Okay, well, that's a note to self, because I'm sure that's still on their menu, because they have pivoted from Workshop. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's more of a burger joint, because what chef did tell me, Schufeld, is he said that a lot of their food on the current Workshop menu doesn't travel well. Okay. Also, I would love it if you guys would take pictures watching this live stream, pictures, selfies with Kelley, and post them and tag me in them, because I would love to repost anything that you are putting out there. I want to share the love that way. So I want to give Kelley the introduction she so richly deserves. Listen, today she's going to talk about navigating this pandemic, because let's be honest, everybody, these are very unsettling times. We're all facing a number of financial challenges that are related to COVID. And here's a little bit more about Kelley. Kelley. She's an award-winning and best-selling author and personal finance educator. She has developed a number of practical guides to uncovering and challenging people's money's mindset. And honestly, she has appeared on radio and TV outlets around the globe. You may recognize her. She's a regular on the Marilyn Dennis show because people will see her and go, wait, I know her. And today she really is welcoming all your questions about these financial times, how you're being impacted, what tools and resources are out there to help you weather this storm. So without further ado, friends, please join me in welcoming the one and only, the amazing Kelley Keehn, who's looking far too damn good on this Wednesday afternoon. How are you?
Fine, Carrie, my friend. Oh my gosh, what an introduction. You know, I adore, I love you. You have been such a role model for women. And I cannot tell you, actually for all Canadians, but I can't tell you how many people reached out to me after doing that podcast with you. And people love your podcast. Even my niece, who's like a surgeon in Calgary, was like, I didn't know you did Carrie's podcast. And like, I didn't know you were listening to it. So it's been no doubt anything you touch, you have the Midas touch. So good on you. And it's great to be with you.
Oh my gosh. You just made my whole month. You are just beautiful inside and out. Thank you so much for sharing that. I truly appreciate it. And the respect comes back your way tenfold. I've loved cheering you on from the sidelines and watching you soar. And speaking of which, this is interview what for you just today?
Today you are now number 8.
Oh my gosh. Okay. First of all, before I dig into that, how are you doing and your family? How's everybody?
Great. Thank you. Great. Thank goodness everyone's good.
Mm-hmm.
Hard being away from my mama, not hugging her since I've been home because I'm on the road 80-90% of the year. So when I come home, there's hugs and sleepovers. So that's been really hard, but you put it in perspective. Everyone's great. How about you, Carrie?
Okay. Yeah. Everyone is doing good. We're just pivoting in all sorts of ways with our business, and the kids are doing, keeping up with their school. The key was getting a schedule for them. And now that they have that, they're feeling a lot better and a lot more settled. I want to ask you, because you said I am interview number 8 today for you. Tell me what life has been like for you as of late since COVID hit. I'm curious of the interviews around the world and who you've been talking to, and give us a bit of an idea that way.
Sure. And if I keep drinking from my mug, forgive me. I'm just trying to keep my voice going here.
Of course.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable. Never has anything like this occurred. Never, I was listening to a podcast yesterday where they were talking about forecasting with your business and things of that sort and being prudent. Like, what if you see a 20% decline, or, that as a businesswoman, we think about these things, but people doing well, and all of a sudden, that's it. And there was this great graph on Twitter that Manulife actually put up last week, and it was showing the unemployment rate from the 1980s, and it was like, like to now, and then like the 2008, 2009 horrible dip, but it was just a blip.
Yes.
And it was horrible. I remember going through that, and then all of a sudden, like 1.1 million people unemployed. Like, just to see that graphed out, it was like unbelievable.
It is. Is that in Canada you're talking about, 1.1 million?
Yeah.
Have you ever in your career seen anything like this?
So when the financial crisis happened, I was a contributor for CNBC out of New York, and I was going back and forth between New York and Canada, talking about kind of like, it was so different. We weathered it so well compared to the US. Like,
really?
Oh yeah. Like the foreclosure signs on the lawns, seeing that in the US, and it was a real wake-up call for them. It used to be like, for every dollar of disposable income that we earn, we actually used to fare much better. Right now we owe around 170, 180. But our debt skyrocketed even after the global recession in 2019 or 2009, 2008, 2009, where they got it. Like, they got it. It was visceral. Like, they saw, foreclosure signs everywhere. It was a little, we felt it, make no mistake about it, especially in Toronto a lot at the time, but nothing like the US. And then come to today,
yes,
nothing. There's It reminds me of the stories. And Carrie, like I reused a Ziploc bag last week because I'm like, I don't know if there's going to be Ziploc bags next week. It reminds me of my mom's stories of growing up in the Depression. And it's been really stressful for people who are financially severely impacted. And just for those of us that maybe we're not financially devastated, I don't know anyone that hasn't been impacted.
What are you hearing the most through all the conversations and all the interviews that you are doing right now? What's the most commonly asked question to you?
And here's the thing, there's no commonality. I mean, the shows that I'm doing, it's like, I've never done a half-hour show on CTV National News in the evening. I have never done 3 hours of interviews with CBC Morning, because that's how long and how many questions are coming in on, are you qualified for the CERB, and how do you, we've moved a lot past that this week, but every single day is some nuance, is something new happening with a new benefit or a tweak, or people getting deeper and deeper into, oh my gosh, this didn't affect them last week and it does this week. And what do they do? And they've never negotiated with creditors before. They've never got online or talked to their bank, and they've never had to defer stuff. So it's been vast. It's been vast. I haven't had any commonality.
Oh my goodness, it's just stressful even listening to that, and that's so. Let's walk through that. And I just want to point out, Terry Purcell said that she's reusing her Ziploc bags too.
Oh,
so yes,
what we have to do now? I mean, Saran wrap. I'm being very cautious because I don't want to go to the dollar store. Right?
I know. I don't blame you. Hence the shirt, just for you, because you tell us to be frugal. Okay, where do you want to start talking? What resources? What do we need to be doing right now as business owners?
Okay, business owners, it's a bit tougher because there's more that you potentially could be getting into. So, it's all about cash flow. It's 100% about cash flow. So figuring out what you have coming in and what you are trying desperately to hold on to. I mean, some entrepreneurs I'm talking to, they're like, look, if I've got to put people's wages on my credit card at a high interest rate, I'm going to do it because I know that we're going to get out of this. And when we do, I don't want to lose my people. Not everyone has that option. So it is really figuring out what government benefits are there, digging into them. What is there personally available to you? Digging into that. If that might be deferring your personal mortgage so you can afford to keep your employees on. Now, I want to preface all of this conversation that if this were pre-COVID, none of these things would be coming out of my mouth. We wouldn't, right? We wouldn't be talking about deferring mortgages, interest upon interest, so you could keep employees. This would be crazy talk.
And wages on a credit card?
I can't say I'm in agreement with that, but I get it.
I was going to ask you about your feelings on that. That's wow.
That's where we're at, Carrie, that, so many people have worked so hard. And I know even my own business, we were set to have the best year ever, and just cancellation. It just is what it is. So how do you all of a sudden, I don't want to lose any of my staff. I don't want to lose any of my team. How do you afford to keep paying them? And at what point? See, if this was pre-COVID and you're bleeding cash, it would be like, okay, we got that conversation here.
Right.
You cannot defer your mortgage to keep your, but this is not that time. So there's still some principles when it comes to business planning, when it comes to what you have to cut, when it comes to personal finance, but there's also surviving this in the best way you can. So you're not now spending months or years rebuilding when we get out of this. There's no.
Okay. So personally, as homeowners and whatnot, as individuals, families, give us the resources and the tools that we need. What's your advice here in order to weather this storm? What do we need to be doing?
Let's talk personally, because a lot of business owners, quite frankly, are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. It really is very personal. Yes. So it's going to probably rely on your personal finance. You really need to take stock of exactly what money needs to go out this month, next month, and maybe the following month. Or if you haven't done this at all, even for last month, like figure out, dig in now, as hard as it is, and know what your credit card rates are, what your interest rates are on your loans, all of that type of stuff. Everything that you owe, I want you to make a little chart of that. Then I want you to figure out what can you defer. And then the next step is what should you defer. So first, what can you defer? You want to go in with as much knowledge as possible. Can you defer paying your HST, GST, and your taxes? Yes, you can. You've got, forgive me, we've got till June 1st personally to file our taxes. As a self-employed person, you have till June 15th. That has not changed. You've got till September 1st to defer your income taxes. And I'm pretty sure, forgive me, I think it's till the end of May that you have to defer your GST and or your HST. So you want to know all of those types of details so you can, made your little spreadsheet, you know what you can defer there. Then might be your personal property taxes. I'm pretty sure in Edmonton, again, I haven't dug into that. I'm pretty sure you can defer your property taxes. I don't know exactly till when. I don't have all those details in my head, but they're on my blog. And then you want to reach out to your bank, even if you don't need to. Again, the caveat being, I'm not saying you should defer. You want to know if you can. The numbers are around 90 to 95% of the banks are deferring when people are coming in. And by the way, I'm sure a lot of people that are on this call right now, Carrie, they've never had to deal with this. They don't miss payments. They make their payments on time. They haven't ever had to do this. I will report I've had a bunch of guinea pigs do it for me. And they've said the banks have been wonderful. They've been great. They were able to do some stuff on their online app or their app or the online, they're going to their bank online. So they don't have to sit for hours on a call. You can actually go on your bank's app and even set up a call for them to call you back. It might not be for a week, but at least you're not sitting on hold. You can do things like skip your one mortgage payment. Online, you can do that without a deferral. And actually, most mortgages in Canada, you can skip one payment per year, and it's right in your mortgage contract. So that's not even something you have to get like special permission for. And that can put, probably a couple grand in your bank account if you need it. And then very lastly, if you are carrying a balance on your credit card, and you're in a high interest rate credit card, like 20%. I had a guinea pig reader go through for me. He was like, look, he had $4,000 on his credit card. He's like, I'm managing it fine and paying the minimum payment. He was paying the minimum payment, but he just wanted to know if he could get into a lower interest rate product because like he's trying to conserve cash flow. So I was like, great. Can you walk me through how it went? So he called up his bank. He got his bank to call him actually on the appointment, set it up on the app. And the bank just was so willing to defer payments with him. They're like, we'll give you a 3-month deferral. And he's like, no, I don't need it. And they're like, no, take it. Because if you take the 3-month deferral, they would slash his interest rate in half down to 10.9% and refund him that amount. So he's still making payments. So hear me out. Do the deferral with your credit card company, your bank, if you're carrying a balance, so you get the interest rate slashed, because you only get that reduction in your interest rate if you're technically deferring, but still make your payments. Does that make sense?
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's not something I think a lot of us might just think of off the bat. And on that note, I think it opens the door to this question of a lot of people don't even know what to ask their financial advisor. Danielle's pointing out what should I be expecting from my financial advisor right now. And then I'm going to add on to that and say what other questions should we be asking him or her right now?
Okay, really, really important. And I want to dig into that a little bit. So some great resources for you, financial planning for Canadians.ca. That is a mouthful, financial planning for Canadians.ca. I am the consumer advocate for an organization called FP Canada. They set the standards for financial professionals in Canada. You go on that website, you're going to find a great list of things to ask your financial professional, not specifically for COVID, but just for interviewing the person sitting across from you, because you want to, number one, make sure that they're legit, and number two, that they're right for you. So this is kind of where the rubber meets the road, right? Is your financial advisor, planner, whatever their title, are they meeting your expectations? Number one, did you take more risk in good times, not really realizing that bad times like this could occur? This was definitely something that I heard a lot during the financial crisis. Is this the time to sell? A lot of people have this anxiety, like, my advisor should be doing something. Look, the markets were up today. How come you didn't do anything?
Yeah.
They were down next week. How come nothing was done? And we desperately want action. We feel that action is somehow going to alleviate the stress or fix this problem. And here's the issue is, not only are a lot of people expecting their planner or advisor to time the bottom, which is impossible, then to time when to get back in, which is impossible. And it's really been said that you think of your investment portfolio like a bar of soap. The more you touch it, the smaller it gets.
Yeah.
So if anyone is thinking that now, not saying there aren't opportunities, not saying if you don't have cash on the side that there aren't things that you could buy, but should you be making sweeping changes right now because of the market, or should your professional be doing that? Likely not.
You said there are opportunities now. Tell us more.
Yeah.
What are they?
Always in a down market, there's tons of opportunities, be it buying individual stocks, be it just getting into the market as a whole. It's really important that you educate yourself, though, on what's realistic, on what basics are. Like, what is an ETF? What does it mean to buy an individual stock? What happens if it's hyped up and you can't sell it? How does that differ than if you were in a mutual fund? What I also worry about, Carrie, is a hallmark of the financial crisis was an explosion of investment scams. This is where people are capitalizing on your fear and anxiety to be like, this gold deal, this is it, invest in this, or, this stock, or fake, certificates of deposit and everything in between. This is where it's so important for you to understand what you're in, what you're invested in. Google something like an index chart, ANDEX, an index chart. This is fantastic because it shows you, Carrie, what different asset classes do over the long term. So if it's, GICs, they just kind of crawl along. If it's like bonds, if it's like Canadian stocks, and it shows the jaggedness. And you can kind of laser in and see how long it took for like a market to recover. And it gives you that overall understanding and I think reassurance that it's going to come back. There's going to be a day when we go out shopping again, when we buy things, when we travel again, and then, these stocks come back up if you're invested in them. Are there opportunities to buy? Absolutely. You and I were talking off camera just before we started about Netflix and the explosion of subscribers.
Zoom.
And Zoom
Oh
and
my
everything
gosh.
else.
Stephen and I were looking at a graph of the stock and it was like through the roof. Who would have ever thought that?
Who would have ever thought that? But also at the same time, when you get very specialized like that, you have to be a lot more you have to pay a lot more attention to your portfolio, because how many people got into cannabis stocks and, on paper did very well early on, but didn't watch it all throughout and kind of lost all of those losses because they weren't watching it all throughout. So it underscores the importance of investor know thyself, have a plan, sit down with someone like a certified financial planner, if they're fee only or if they charge fees, or an investment advisor, whatever it is, you need a plan. And I think that Warren Buffett's advice is very sage. Take the bulk of your portfolio, if it's 80%, 90%, whatever, sure, play with a little bit of it. You want to play with 5% and kind of see what you can, get in and out, or things of that sort if you're really going to watch it, or an industry because you watch it very closely, fine. Just don't risk your whole portfolio, because that's gambling, not investing.
Okay, what about on a really like a small level, on a personal level? Because you've always given me such great advice on things that we can really take a look at now and maybe cut out or cut back, or really some hands-on advice for saving money right now. What's your
Right.
advice in that capacity?
Yeah. And I, by the way, I hate cutting. I really do. It's never been my message. I'm always about choice and awareness, not sacrifice. But that's not the message right now. The message is survival,
Yes.
like we've never seen before. So it is a time that you have to kind of look at the dreaded B word, budget. And again, I've never been a fan of it. I always talk about tracking your dollars and seeing where you can trim the fat. But in survival time, everything off the boat, right? That doesn't need to be there. You put it back on once the leaks are fixed. So you want to look at hidden things, especially as a small business owner, Carrie. I have so many subscriptions, it's unbelievable. Like I must have $500 a month of subscription,
Okay.
LinkedIn Premium, a website, this, that, like just like before you even like do anything, I've probably got $500 a month,
Yeah.
let alone the personal ones. Do I need all of that? Do you need Netflix and Crave and this and that? So it's, again, you kind of talk with your family. It's not like no one's going to watch TV and you're getting rid of it, but could you just scale back to, not premium Netflix or whatever it is for you and your family? Like where can you like really get lean, because we don't know how long this is going to last. What can you negotiate? Yes, you can get on the phone with your cell phone provider. It might be difficult right now. Maybe you can get in the queue, but remember, everything's negotiable. This is a great time to see if you can cut that family plan down, if you can get a better rate on something. Call your insurance company, see if you can get a reduction in your rate because you're not driving your car. Look at every single expense and ask the question, can we either cut that or can we negotiate it down?
I love that advice. The negotiation is the big thing. And I was going to ask you, so many of us had trips planned and there's deposits that were made. And so what about negotiating those and, dare I say, bend those rules or just see what's available? Anything else come to mind? Like what about airlines? I think the airlines have been pretty good in refunding all tickets, but what else should we be looking at in that regard?
Yeah, and also keeping track, Carrie. I was just talking to a neighbor of mine who had a big trip to Europe booked, and he always has, and he didn't get a refund yet. And he said he was just fed up with the airline waiting on hold. So I would really recommend that you're documenting anything financially going on in your life right now. When I say documenting, I mean email yourself. Go right now, create a separate folder in your email, and every time something comes up, don't count on your brain remembering this down the line. Your cognitive capacity is stretched to its limits. You've got kids at home, your spouse at home, you're stressed out doing these things. So you made a deferral arrangement with your bank, great. Type yourself a little email, send it to yourself right now. Did 3 months, talk to this person, it was on this date. This is what we agreed to, because details get fuzzy later. Then email yourself, then put a little reminder in your digital calendar 2 weeks before that 3 months comes up, because you may have thought 4 months in your head, or maybe you're still in financial trouble and you kind of forgot about it. You don't want to be missing and bouncing payments. And then back to my neighbor about his refund, he was just like, he's like, I don't want to wait on hold. He said, I tried calling, it was 3 hours. He said, I did a bunch of stuff around the house, I gave up. So it's like, okay, fine. If you gave up for this week because it was just too stressful for whatever, you were maybe trying to defer your utilities or talk to your landlord, put it in your calendar and then just set it and forget it. So it's in there and you haven't just let that go. And don't count on your memory is the bottom line there.
Catherine was just saying today that WestJet was giving a WestJet credit for a trip, but today they sent an email and said they would honor the original funds available. So maybe some companies now that originally said no are being forced to pivot as well. Have you seen that?
Hearing a little bit about it. So yeah, things are changing rapidly. I think it's really important that, we're watching the news, that we're trusting sources like you, bringing credible information, going to places to rely on the experts to update, because it's pretty hard to keep track of all of the deluge of changes and news that's coming in. But yeah, like reaching out and making sure that you're keeping track of if you had a deposit for a wedding or what have you, making sure that you're not forgetting that, and keeping an ear open.
What about things like, there's so many things that are racing through my mind right now, but I want to talk about if you're newly unemployed, what should you be doing immediately?
Yes. So right now, if you were unemployed before March 15th, and you had insurable earnings, like you worked for a regular company, you would have gone through the EI channel. But after March 15th, there is no EI channel right now. So you would have to apply through CERB, the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. So just to give a little recap to your viewers, I'm sure a lot of them are familiar with CERB, have heard about it.
No, I'm glad you're talking about it, because I was going to ask you about all the packages that are available in case anyone's not aware. Let's cover it all.
Yeah, perfect. So CERB I'm the most familiar with, and we can talk about the small business ones as well. And there's like literally every day there's being something new announced. So you need to have earned at least $5,000 in 2019 or the last 12 months. The old language was that you had to be without any income for 14 consecutive days. The newer language, about the last week or so, the government allowed you to earn $1,000 or less a month. So if you're earning $1,000 or less a month, now, really big caveat, you cannot have quit your job. This is specifically money earmarked for those that were working and now are displaced because of COVID-19. Either you were on the EI channel, the employment insurance, or you were a contract worker, gig worker, self-employed, and you don't have any income or $1,000 or less. There's some provisions for seasonal workers, and if you've run out of EI as well. I've got all those resources up on my blog. What else you need to know about CERB? It's $2,000 a month. It is a taxable benefit, but you do get the whole $2,000 in your hands. The reason I mention it's taxable is because no tax was withheld. You may be paying tax on that in 2021. So keep that in mind. There's 7 benefit periods. We already went through one because it was backdated to March 15th.
15th, yeah.
So we're in the second. There's 7 4-week payment periods, and periods that you can apply. You can do it through canada.ca and go through that portal, or you can go straight to CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency. I also have links on my blog. Canada Revenue Agency has a great kind of like a checklist, like check. If you go through that, you can apply for CERB. I have to say, you were asking me at the beginning of this, was there one theme of questioning that I was getting? Carrie, thousands and thousands of people have been reaching out, trying to understand the nuance of CERB. Either they got overpaid, or they're not quite sure if they should apply, or their EIs run out. There's so much confusion about it.
Yes.
Yeah. So just back to the payment periods. So there's 7, but you only can apply for a maximum of 4, because right now, who knows if it'll change, it's $2,000 a month for a maximum of $8,000. Okay. So you can see there's only 4 payment periods that you could be eligible for. And I think that kind of summarizes CERB.
Okay, before we move on to the packages, I want to read this question from Rhonda Berg. She said, the deferrals are only for a few months at most. I've already been unemployed for 6 months prior to this, so my reserve funds are gone now. Do you know, I'm sorry, Rhonda, do you know if there will be any extensions on deferrals? The CERB is only for 16 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, this is what is terrifying me, is it long enough? And the government hears this, they know it too. And I think, is Rhonda referring to her bank deferrals, I would assume?
Yeah, she said, reserve funds are gone.
Only for 6 months. Here's the thing, is the banks came out with this blanket statement because the government wanted something, like give Canadians some kind of clarity that on a case-by-case basis, they would defer your mortgage for up to 6 months. Now, I would really encourage her to talk to her lender, call her bank up, and if she doesn't get the answer that she would like, to call again and talk to them openly and honestly about what her options are. because it is not unheard of that a bank will give you longer deferrals. Even before any of this COVID happened, we were moving into what a lot of economists thought were going to be a recessionary time.
Yeah.
I was talking to a lot of the big banks. They knew that Canadians were falling on hardship before COVID, that these things were probably going to be playing out. So really look at your lender. They don't want to be in the business of repossessing your house unless you're with a small lender. You want to be really careful with those because they fall under very different rules. But if you're with the big banks, the big 6 banks, more than not, they're going to work with you to come up with some strategy because they just don't want you to default.
Okay. So the bottom line here is everything's on the table. Ask, and reach out and whatnot, and to protect yourself. Great question, Rhonda. Thank you. We have the next one from Wendy Clegg saying, my concern with looking to defer anything is that how long until we can get back into business as we had to fully close? How long to grow business back to where it is, having to deal with paying back those deferral payments when income is lower than what it was? I know no answers, but holding off on deferral for future unknowns. Good or bad idea? Great question.
Oh, so important. So there's so much to unpack in that. It's nice to know if you can get the deferral that if you need it, that it's there. So I think that's important, that there'll be a whole other conversation we'll be having about how to dig out of this mess when we're on the other side of it. But exactly, if you don't need to use it, it's interest upon interest, with the exception of National Bank. They're the only bank that has gone on record saying that they will actually refund the interest from the deferral only.
Oh,
yeah, which I think
okay.
is really interesting. Apparently,
Yeah.
One broadcaster told me Van City is doing that too, but I can't confirm that. So you want to dig into the fine print of what is it actually going to cost you to defer it. That's what I was saying, making a list of everything that you owe to see what are at least the options. There's no harm in calling your bank up, finding it out before you need to use it, especially when, a more level head is prevailing. Here's the reality though, is usually emotions are driving what we're doing. And when we're feeling emotional, we go into that primal part of our brain, that the executive functioning is shut off. So here's what's really important, Carrie, that you also consult a professional, like a certified financial planner, a nonprofit credit counselor, even if it's a bankruptcy insolvency trustee. Most of these folks will give you a few minutes, 10 minutes, a free initial consultation. And also there's an initiative going on right now as well. I've got the link up on my blog of a bunch of financial planners across Canada that are truly doing pro bono work. Like really.
I saw that. Yeah.
So cool. It's Kind Wealth doing it. And it's so cool. Like these people are like literally, and I've talked to David from Kind Wealth, like they are working around the clock to help people that they know will never be their clients. Like they're not trying to get people and do anything nefarious. Like truly it's pro bono. So if you're kind of like wondering, like maybe getting desperate that you've got to cash in some RSPs, oh my goodness, please don't do that. If at all possible, don't rely on payday loans if at all possible. They make them very easy. Reach out to one of these pros, see if there's anything that they know of government benefits or ways to survive. And if nothing else, just to have that clearer head to help you figure out a plan to get out of this. Yeah.
And someone who obviously specializes in it. I want to give Candace's question some love. She said, can I negotiate with my lending institution on the interest rate on my line of credit?
So Candace, if it's a line of credit and it's not locked in like a mortgage, absolutely. If it's a floating line of credit, you may be, depending on your credit worthiness, you may be prime plus 1% or 2% or not. It all depends on your situation. You're not going to see a ton of wiggle room there unless you've got a huge line of credit. Because if it's a secured line of credit, it's probably pretty low already. But yes, of course, call them up. See what they can do. It's mostly those credit cards that I'm really worried about, where you're at 20, 24%, that, my goodness, just the interest payments alone are brutal. So it might be, can you take that credit card debt and convert it into a lower interest rate loan or a line of credit? Again, be really cautious of what one decision can do, though, how that can cost you down the line. Like I said, if it's cashing in an RSP, if it's taking on new debt. It might sound great, like, yeah, let's take this new debt on. That's going to solve our problem, but you've got to pay it back on the other side. So you got to do what you got to do. I get it. There'll be people there to help you fix it, but do the best you can to mitigate any damage, and take time to slow down, get the information. Here's another thing too, Carrie. If you know your mortgage is coming up, don't wait till 2 days before the payment's supposed to come out to call your bank up, because these deferrals take at least 5 days. Same with the skip a payment. That's why you want to get organized, write down everything that's due, the due dates and all of that, and don't wait till the last minute if you can. Reach out sooner, so you're not now faced with NSF charges and a hit to your credit report.
Great advice. Thank you. Another Facebook user says, hi, Kelley. I have noticed an increase in fraudsters trying to profit from consumers' fears, uncertainties, and misinformation during this crisis of COVID. Many years ago, a friend of mine had her online federal tax account, her online tax submission taken over. Basically, oh my goodness, her identity was used in tax fraud. Any tips to protect ourselves even more during and before COVID-19?
Yeah, this is really unthinkable. And Premier Jason Kenney said that, there's a special place in hell for fraudsters.
I heard him say that. Yeah.
COVID-19.
Right.
And they're preying on seniors too. So let me try to pack in as much as I can. Number one, watch your purchases really carefully. A lot of us have lessened our purchases, so it's easy to keep track. I would suggest even taking the extra step of going onto your bank's website and putting an email alert on your debit and your credit card. So for me, I know this is a lot for a lot of people, and during every day, this might be too much, but since we're not using our debit and credit cards a lot, I think it's prudent. Every single time my debit card or my credit card is used, I get a little email. Real time, I can just be like, yep, legit, no problem. Especially, Carrie, as you know, as a business owner, sometimes things don't come through in a name that you later recognize, like
yes.
a weird name. Or if you've got like an assistant who has a supplementary card on your account, you're not going to remember at the end of the month when the statement comes in, like, what was that purchase? And fraudsters are counting on the fact that you won't notice something for a couple of bucks, then they go in for the big kill. So put a little alert on so you get that if you're so inclined. Check your credit report regularly. Right now, Equifax and TransUnion are both offering free credit reports online. They've never done this before. And links to those are also up on my blog because they were hard to find, I gotta tell you. So you want to be checking your credit report, making sure there's no new credit being opened in your name that you're not aware of. That could be a first sign that you have been a victim of identity theft. You can go and put a proactive fraud alert on your report. So it's an extra layer that before granting credit to you, that you have to be called. I also want all of your viewers to scour your credit card statements. Please get online regularly and look at what's going through in your account if you're not doing the alert. Because what a lot of people don't realize is, yes, you're 100% protected when you're using your credit card and your debit card. And here's another thing. Now they've increased tap and go to $250 because we're terrified to touch the terminal. And I tested it with my card. It used to be
serious.
Yes, serious. So now, I mean, that's great because people want the ability to not touch terminals when they're out, but fraudsters know this too, that they're increasing this. So guys, you've got to scour it because you only have, and I've not been able to get consensus. I'm even on a consumer protection committee with the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, which is a wonderful organization, but there is no consensus with our Canadian banks of how long exactly you have to report fraud on your credit card statement and be protected. Stacey Brotzel actually had me on CTV a couple of years ago because she called in, I think it was like day 63 or day 64, and they said, no, we're not going to cover it. You've only got 60 days. Well, who knows that?
Well, we don't.
That's the cutoff. And I can't even tell you that that is the cutoff because every bank is 100% different. So bottom line, maybe put an alert, check your credit score, and scour your credit card statements and your bank statements and report immediately to your financial institution if you suspect fraud.
Oh my goodness. You got to change that. You sit on all the important
I'm
boards and
working on
agencies.
it.
You got to work to change that and get some uniformity across the board. A great question from Terry saying, how do you put on the alerts to your account?
Okay. So there's a couple alerts I mentioned. First was the alert to notify you when you've used your debit card or your credit card. So you're going to go to your bank. Every bank is different. And either on your app or online, make sure that you're doing this securely, not with free Wi-Fi either, please. Make sure you're only going to your bank's app very securely. If you're out and about, use your data. That's going to be safer than using Wi-Fi if you're at a hotel or something.
Okay.
That part, obviously, none of us are at hotels right now.
Yeah.
But
grocery shopping, wherever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
When in doubt, use the app on your phone and use your data, because that's going to be the safest, unless you're secure at home. And then, quite honestly, you have to do a little bit of digging. It's probably going to be in one of the settings, and it'll say alerts, or maybe it's under your profile, depending on your bank. It's worth doing the digging. I think it's worth it. The other alert I was talking about to protect yourself from identity theft, that's on Equifax and TransUnion. It's free with Equifax because of the breach that Equifax went through. They offer that alert for free. You do unfortunately have to call in for it. You can go to Equifax. It's $5 with TransUnion. It lasts 6 years, and it's just an extra layer of protection and security so someone can't as easily go and apply for credit in your name, get a cell phone in your name, something of that sort.
Okay. Wendy's wondering, I don't know if you covered this, but where can you get an alert when a credit application goes through?
Yes. So you would not get an alert, unfortunately. This is the importance of checking your credit regularly. Now, I'm more familiar with Equifax than TransUnion, but if you go into Equifax's, if you go and pull your credit report with them, it shows at the bottom what's called hard and soft inquiries. And by the way, you can check your credit report right now with both Equifax and TransUnion every week if you want, for free. You're not going to get your score. You got to pay for that. But if you want to check it, to just really be like on it, if maybe you've had your wallet or your purse stolen recently, or something else where you feel you're like high potential to be a victim, you can check it more often. And then there's also what's called soft hits. So soft hits are when you check your credit report, and by the way, it does not hurt your score. You can check your credit as often as you want. Okay. You know how sometimes your bank magically gives you this limit increase? Like, oh, yes. Yeah. How do they know? How do they know that? Well, because they peeked into your credit report, and you'll see at the bottom that they peeked into it. So hard inquiries are, you went to go apply for something. You went to try to get a Dell laptop lease or a new cell phone or a mortgage or something of that sort. That shows that can hurt your score. But the soft inquiries are the peeks in. And these don't hurt your score, but they can also show you who's looking at your credit. So you can be like, that's not right. Why is that company or whatever looking at my credit? That could also be a red flag that something's going on or somebody's applying for credit in your name.
Oh man, such great advice. I want to talk more on a global scale. And I know this is a tough question, but you love the tough questions. What does the other side look like? You've used that term a lot, the other side, the other side. First of all, what does it look like? And like, when are we going to get to the other side?
Yeah. Carrie, if this were 2008, 2009, it was being talked on the news. I remember, it's worse than the Great Depression and all of that. And it wasn't. Now we see it was just a blip compared to what? 600,000 people applying for mortgage deferrals, hundreds of thousands of people on CERB, over 1 million people unemployed, unfathomable.
Yes.
I have zero comprehension for this. I think I can even just talk myself, like on the other side of this, I traveled 80 to 90% of my career, like the last probably 6 years of my career. Do I get on a plane right after this? Do I run out to a social gathering? I ask you and your viewers, do you run, like we desperately want to run back to the restaurants that we love and cherish, and all the little stores on 124th Street in Edmonton.
Right.
That's breaking my heart. I want to run back in, but are we going to run back as fast as we would have if it were just an economic crisis where, you know, it was a tough time. We're conserving dollars. I'm very concerned. I know Canadians are resilient and we're going to get over this, and we will, but I don't think we'll ever be the same. And I think financially, the you know, the whole notion that I've been talking about forever, and even I'm like re-examining the lesson of having those emergency funds, having that emergency savings account so bursting, it overflowing. I got to tell you, I don't think there will be one want that I would put on my list without a corporate and personal, making sure that that is bursting. Yeah. And that is gone. And just even like as a family, like having little ones around to be like, look, we never want to go through that stress again. Having to get $2,000 a month from the government, what is that? That doesn't pay anything for people. So I think it'll be a real wake-up call that you thought you had a safe job, you had contracts with your clients, that might have not been worth anything if those clients' doors aren't open to pay you.
What about here in Alberta? Are we going to be harder hit than anywhere else in Canada?
Yeah, we've been hit hard for, as you know, Carrie, for years. It's been brutal for people. I mean, I can't tell you how many friends I had that bought places in Calgary, moved to Toronto, had to move back to Calgary because they, you know, their renters left. They couldn't sell the condos. It's going to be tough. Again, we're going to get through it. We're resilient. We've got other industries that are growing, and Alberta is known for wonderful things. But yeah, it's going to be really tough. And it's going to be, you know, Kenny was talking as well the other day about how many people don't realize how important Alberta is to this country. How many banks and pension funds and private equity do not realize what the fallout is going to be for them because of what Alberta is going through and where oil is. So I think it'll shine a light as well how important the Alberta, you know, energy industry is to the economy. But people, it's gonna be tough. Yeah.
I mean, I don't, like you said, I think life will be forever changed. I did an interview with Anne McClellan, former deputy prime minister, the other day, and she said, like, it's already changing where I'm sure Zoom is going to be a huge part of your life, because she sits on some huge national boards, and she's like, executives everywhere are now seeing that they don't need to get on a plane and fly to Germany or fly to Houston for a meeting because they can do it all through Zoom. So the workplace too, talk about like the workplace, how that's going to be impacted, because I mean, do we all need to sit in an office together still? Is that going to be a necessity? Like I just wrapping my head around the changes to come.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, Carrie, like, and you're so right. Like we were talking as well offline. I think around the last 4 weeks, I've done something like 100 media interviews, most of them national. That wasn't possible because I actually had to travel to the city. Or physically, you'd have to go into the studio, or run past. It was not possible. So it's and nobody accepted. Like, no one wanted to do a Skype interview for a national program.
Because the audio was horrible.
Yeah, that's why I had to go to Toronto. Now it's a total game changer. So, what was acceptable pre-COVID? What is acceptable now? There's new norms, and also I want to say. There's going to be incredible opportunities and innovation, and 3D printing, I think, is going to explode. And there's so many reasons to be hopeful throughout all of this, but also to get through it in the best way that you can.
Kelley, you're so amazing in countless ways. There's lots of people. We're going to post all your links. They're going to be up for those listening. I know there's lots that are on their lunch break, but just tell us where they can find your blog, your books. How many books to date now?
10 that I've written, 9 that are published. Thanks, Carrie. You're always such a great champion. You're so kind.
But your latest one?
The latest one is Talk Money to Me. Which I literally was on the book tour and had to stop to come home for COVID. my poor publisher. But yeah, we've got some, you're generously donating some books, which is wonderful. You can find me at kelleykeehn.com. Don't even worry how to spell it. However you type it into Google, Google knows it's going to bring you up there. I'm blogging as often as I can. So if you just click the blog tab, I'm blogging as often as I possibly can to bring you the latest of what I think you need to know for resources or get help. Please reach out. There's a contact tab on there too. We'll do our best to get back to you in a timely fashion, answer your questions. But yeah, do reach out and help others. Take what you heard today. Take Carrie's podcast, share her stuff. She's amazing. I love her to bits and pieces. And tell other people about what you learned today and help them out and start to open the conversation about money so we can take away the stigma and the shame and the taboo, because a lot of people are dealing with severe mental issues as well because of the financial stress that's weighing on them. So help take that away and open up the conversation.
Oh, Kelley, thank you so much for being such a strong voice for our country and really all around the world. Our conversation today was rich with so much information. I know people are just posting, thank you, thank you, thank you. They loved the advice and the direction and the guidance. And I just want you to know that I appreciate you. My life is richer because of the friendship that we started. Was it some 20 years ago?
Sure was.
Like that. I will be cheering you on from the sidelines as I watch you on every major network everywhere, and keep doing what you're doing because you're having impact. You really are. You're helping us through, as you put it, one of the most difficult times we never could have imagined. Mad love and respect for you. Thank you so much for stepping into the inner circle today. Take care. Go have some hot tea and honey and rest that voice.
Okay. And thank you for everything you do, Carrie. I love you.
Love you back. Bye. How fabulous is she? I mean, just oozes knowledge in so many capacities, and just saying, like, our everyone's hopping on right now. TJ saying thank you. Suze Carter saying very informative. Thank you very much. Thank you from Terry Purcell. Thank you from Rihanna and from Kim and from another Facebook user. I'm so glad that you found value in today. I learned so much. I mean, she is, like I said, a wealth of information, and she knows her facts inside and out. And I'm so grateful to her. Grateful to you as well for spending an hour with us today. And if you got value today, I say to all my friends, tell a friend, like she said, if they're going through a difficult time, think of what you learned today and how it helped you today. Reach out to your friends and say, come on into the inner circle and let's learn together, and let's try to navigate this crisis together, because we are stronger together. I leave you with a couple of thoughts coming up. As I said, Friday, 4:00, happy hour with the amazing chef Paul Schufeld. We're going to post the ingredients for what he's making for the drinks and the recipe. Let's create a virtual happy hour. It's all we got right now for happy hour. So let's do it together and see how many people we can get on that happy hour virtual call together. Also coming up on Saturday, usually Sunday, but you all told me you want the Facebook Live moved to Saturday, 10:00 in the morning. The amazing hairstylist Tess Ball joining us with her clippers, showing us how to manage our mops and our man's mops. Steven, my husband's going to allow me to cut his hair. I'm going to attempt Cash's hair. I think my mother-in-law is coming over to do Dawn's hair. And I even think my sister-in-law, Ashley and Brian, might be venturing over. We're going to have some big hair cutting session going on Saturday. So I hope you'll join me then. In the meantime, everyone, please stay well. Please stay connected. The hills and valleys of this journey are there. I am riding the wave and trying my best. And when I feel low, I reach out, I connect, I hug my kids, hug my husband. The struggle is real. It really is. And I think as long as we can talk about it and connect with each other and bring other people into the circle, we will get through this together. My love and gratitude to all of you for joining me today. Be well and take care.